Hey, I'm Alan, and I want to show you how you can visually rebuild this hard-coded Next.js page inside of Makeswift using your own React components. Let's get started. So this page here has a header, this hero with this interactive globe, this team grid, and then a footer. And this is what the code looks like for it. There's a lot of code here, but the only code that we really need to worry about is this globe component, because everything else can be visually built inside of Makeswift. This globe here, we can see it takes a couple properties, a class name, a color for the sphere, and then an array of locations. And these locations are just a latitude and longitude value. So let's go and get started. The first thing we need to do is register this globe into Makeswift. So I'm going to import the React runtime from the Makeswift runtime React package, and I'm just going to register this globe. When I register it, I got to give it a few properties, a type, a label, and then some props. And these are going to be controls that map to props. So the first one that I care about is the class name, and this is going to map to the style control, so that way we can resize it and move it. The second property is the sphere color, and then we're going to map this to a color picker. And then the last one is this locations property, which we're going to map to the list control, which is an array, and we got to tell it what type of array, so we got to provide it a type. So we have two options here. We could use a shape control, which would allow us to basically create a little pop-up that has two number pickers to enter the latitude and longitude manually, but it's not the best user experience. So let's actually use a combo box, and inside this combo box we're going to just need to give it a get options method and tell it where to get the results as the user's typing, which is going to be passed in as the query. So here we're going to make a fetch request to a little serverless endpoint that I've already set up here, which I will show you in 1 second. And this little serverless endpoint is, all it's doing is sending a geocoding request to the Google Maps API. And then we're formatting the results in a way that Makeswift can understand using this ID label value format. And then whatever you provide as a value will be what's passed into the component. So now that I have this set up, the last thing I need to do is just provide it with a couple labels so that we can tell what things are in the UI. So let's give this a label. And then down here, let's give this provide a get item labels method, and this is going to let Makeswift know what to use for a preview of each item, since we don't want to probably display the latitude and longitude values. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to pop over into Makeswift, and inside the settings here you'll see that we have this builder pointing to our localhost instance, and it's loading in this Makeswift route, which is a page that you create during the installation, which I'll cover in a separate video. But just wanted to show you that part real fast. Then all we need to do is refresh this so that way we can see this globe component in the sidebar here. We'll hover over this ellipsis menu to drop in the globe component. And here we go, now we can see it. We can move it around left and right. We can change the color of it. And then we can also add some locations here. And this is hitting the Google Maps API. You can imagine this might be hitting an API inside of your internal system or a headless CMS or whatever you'd like. It's up to you. So now that we have this globe component integrated into Makeswift, let's go ahead and build the rest of our page. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to drop in a box. I'm going to hit X on my keyboard to drop in this box. And then I'm going to give it some padding on the top and bottom here. And then I'll drop in another box. I'm going to clear the padding here and then reduce the width down to 1,000 pixels. This is going to act as our container box that's going to prevent our content from bleeding to the edges. Then I'll drop in this globe. And then I'm going to drop in another box here because I want the globe in the box to the left. This box to the left is going to house the text content. I'm going to center this box, and then I will drop in two text blocks. This first text block, it will be our About Us header, and then the second text block will be our body. Then we just got to style it. So I'm going to add in a background color here, and then I'm going to pick some typography options here, which I've already pre-made. And then clean up some spacing. So now that we have this section recreated, the last step is just to add in some of our global elements. These are global elements I've already created, and the reason why I've done this is because if you're working with a team, then as a marketer you might have already created these components for your other pages, so you shouldn't have to rebuild them every single time. So now we got the header and footer in there. The last step is to create this team section. So in this team section here, I'm going to hold down Alt and then add in some padding on the top and bottom here. And then I'm going to drop in another container box, do the same thing, reduce the width down to 1,000 pixels, and then drop in some text, left align it, give it a heading, and then we will give it some size. And then the last thing we're going to do is create the container box for each one of our teammates. So I'm going to adjust some spacing here, give it some text, adjust this value, not heading 3, heading 4. And then I'm going to set an image here. So I'll pick an image, and then the last step is I want to copy and paste this into this parent box along the default grid here. So this is going to create this 4x2 grid that now I can go ahead and tweak on mobile. So the last step here is to go ahead and tweak this. So if I want to get to that parent box, I can use these breadcrumbs to scrub up and down. This is kind of our substitute for the layers panel. When you select this box, you can see there's these grid items that I can resize, but I actually just want to click on these vertical dashed lines in order to break the box at that point. So that'll make a 2x4 grid. And then now we can go to mobile, and I can do the same thing. I can break these boxes again. And if I needed to, I could also adjust any of these style properties. So I could resize this box a little bit to bring it off the edge. All of these changes, these style changes, will be overrides. And do the same thing up here. Add in a little bit of margin on the top. And the last step is I just need to hit publish. Now we can go visit this page and go view live. And this page now is being served from our local host at about us instead of about, but they look pretty much visually identical. I'm sure you might have some questions around the integration or how the architecture works. We'll make a separate video that you can find in our website. Please let me know if you have any questions, and let us know what you think. Thanks.